Hello, I'm Richard Walker with Home Choice Network, and we're pleased to sponsor at no cost this presentation. This program is one of several steps we have taken for over 16 years to support the needs of elderly citizens in Moore County. We are your home care agency, and we have a saying, independence for seniors and peace of mind for families. We look forward in a continuing working relationship, and we hope you enjoy our presentation, Life is Change. We all prefer stability. We like to know that what we can count on, our families, our jobs, friends, home, etc. Well, guess what? We really cannot count on anything except change. Yes, temporarily, we may think we have stability and that things are to remain the same from day to day, but that is not the reality of life. Flexibility is the cornerstone of progress. Progress is impossible without change. Those who cannot change their minds will never be able to change anything or adjust to change around them. Change requires adjustment, planning, knowledge of specifically what is changing in one's life and how to adapt to flexibility. Catherine Mansfield was a prominent New Zealand short story writer and poet, and she once said, everything in life that we really accept undergoes change. I recently read a book entitled Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari, who has a PhD in history from the University of Oxford and lectures at the Department of History at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. This book outlines a brief history of humankind and identifies changes from one era to the next. As Mr. Harari takes us through the basic history of humankind, we observe both subtle and drastic changes, for better or worse. We can start back to 300,000 years ago, when man routinely used fire with stone tools. Man was a hunter and gatherer, existed basically the same as all other species. Then modern man, around 70,000 years ago, entered the era known as cognitive revolution. This era is the beginning of key changes that man begins to make on a personal basis. This basis is called culture or history. The Stone Age gave way around 8,700 to 2000 BC, to the Bronze Age around 3000 to 1200 BC, and later the Iron Age from 500 to 332 BC. Man began to control his life and his environment instead of remaining as just a hunter and gatherer. Note this German proverb: you have to take it as it happens, but you should try to make it happen the way you want to take it. And that seems to be, in a nutshell, what man was thinking about. Man began to look about and think what he saw was not only change, but change that he could personally control. He not only discovered fire and stone tools, as well as creating painting in caves such as the Lacau cave in France, but the use of his cognitive thinking enhanced his ability to use the following processes, such as thinking, knowing, remembering, judging, and problem solving. This includes the ability to encompass language, imagination, perception, and planning. Once he discovered the cognitive abilities, the rest, as they say, is history. We must realize history is culture based on more than just biology. Culture is independent from biology as it moves forward with various ideas, images, and fantasies surrounding one's daily life and their mode of thinking. Culture entails the customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or a particular social group. Through cognitive thinking, man began to seek meaning in life, contentment, and happiness. Peace of mind via change. I feel it is best expressed by the wisdom of Charlotte Brontë, an English novelist and poet who helps us understand the cognitive thinking of man. Cheerfulness, it would appear, is a matter which depends fully as much on the state of things within as on the state of things without and around us. Man thought, why always look for food? Why not raise and grow food? Yes, man now developed the agricultural revolution and decided to settle down. Family development, villages, religion, and yes, competition with the next village over the hill. Man's culture became more complex as he moved forward with more change. The unification of humankind was the next step for key change for man. Each culture has always had its own beliefs, values, and norms, but always changing. The culture of my parents and grandparents is not the culture I have today. Western culture and that of Eastern culture during most of history has been in stark contrast. Yet the present era of both Eastern and Western cultures, along with ideas via capitalistic norms, has become more unified, while the entire world has become more balanced through the merging of ideas and blending of cultures. Change began to make great strides by the time the scientific revolution became apparent when Nicholas Copernicus published on the revolutions of the heavenly spheres, or when Galileo observed the moons around Jupiter. Yes, the heliocentric theory of the discovery of our planet rotating around our sun by Copernicus was considered a big change to man's understanding of the known universe and man's role in the universe. However, Greeks as far back as 300 BC began their own scientific observations from observing the power of steam from boiling water, as well as our planet rotating around the sun. It takes time for man to accept and undergo changes. However, scientific research and publication began in earnest back in the Western civilization by the 1400s. Let us keep in mind the cognitive and scientific thinking in the Eastern world via China. Around 12,000 years ago, during the Neolithic age, the Chinese began to develop and cultivate crops and domestication of animals. Years later, China started the production of paper around 25 AD and wood block printing around 220 AD, as well as inventing gunpowder in the 9th century. Consequently, one can see that change was developing at a fast pace and became ubiquitous around the world as scientific progress developed. As noted in the book Sapiens, and I quote, "Despite the astonishing things that humans are capable of doing, we remain unsure of our goals, and we seem to be discontented as ever. We have advanced from canoes to galleys to steamships to space shuttles, but nobody knows where we're going. We are more powerful than ever before, but have very little idea what to do with all that power. Worse still, humans seem to be more irresponsible as man strives towards progress." I agree with Martin Luther King Jr. when he said, "We all may have come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now." We are wreaking havoc on wildlife as we build more roads and houses, calling all this progress. We are affecting our climate to the extent of watching both Earth ice caps melting at an ever faster pace. Man is polluting both our lands and oceans. while he continues to say he is making progress. Just in the last 75 years, man has increased his population status over 3 times to the volume of 7.8 billion. It took over 200,000 years of human history for the world's population to reach 1 billion, and only 200 years more to reach 7 billion. I think you're getting the picture. I hope you are, because this is a serious situation that man is placing himself in. And what is my point? Well, our planet is the same as a spaceship, and there is only so much room on board. Overcrowding brings disease, as history has shown us during the plague of back in the days of England, or during the flu that ran rampant in 1918 and killed 25, 30 million people, as well as what we are now experiencing around the world with virus called the COVID-19 deadly pathogenic virus. Fertilizers from farming, chemicals placed on our golf courses, chemicals flushed into our sewers from our body waste, particularly all the medicine that we pass through our bodies. We in America in particular pop a lot of pills. Every time you turn around, you see advertisement on television. Well, if you have this ache, pop a pill. If you're psychologically depressed, well, pop this pill. Can you imagine all of the chemicals that is going into our sewers through the waste of our bodies? Microplastic particles that takes years to dissolve and becomes part of the human food chain via ocean fishing are all changes we do not need. Yes, there are carcinogenic elements in our land and water as pollutants. Even though we have advanced medicine and extended our lives, are we happier and safer than we were in our cultures long ago compared to our cultures of today? Pollution brings forth serious questions. Our Earth, our spaceship, remains the same size, but our pollution and population is exponentially growing at an astounding rate. We must make progress in a more responsible manner, or future generation of mankind will have to pay the dire consequences of our present irresponsibility. We must be responsible for all species, plants, and animals. From an acorn to a large oak tree, we know the changes that takes place and how this special tree evolves into a tree of size and strength. Let us take the giant sequoia tree that may live past 2,000 years and note once it was just a small seed to evolve into such a living species for so many years. Yes, the sequoia changes on a daily basis. How do I know this? Without change, we face dying and death with any species. Can we replace what we and pollution are destroying? Are we setting the future stage of life that may cause our extinction? I'll get that pronounced correctly here. Take our lives. Upon conception, our life begins in the womb of our mother. After 9 months, 3 trimesters, we find life upon the world stage. We evolve, yet we never stop changing from childbirth to childhood, to a young adult, and if we're lucky, on to old age. During old age, somewhere along the line, we slow in making further changes and thus discover death. Life moves towards death the moment life begins, but only via and through changes. How we face these changes, accept these changes, understand and learn from these changes, we can only begin to define who we are and become. During our existence, we are attempting to balance our lives as our world changes within and without. but death completes our final balancing act. If we want to find happiness in life, we must first understand ourselves and how we fit into the grand scheme of life, changes in life. What is this grand scheme? The scheme of life is in our hands. It is up to us as to how we face changes within ourselves and understand changes in others, and all the while accepting flexibility. I noticed that within my life, there were distinct changes every 10 years, and it took me 40 years to discover the value of knowing how to respond to these 10-year increments. I've observed that countries change as their culture changes, the same as an individual changes within their life. Why not? Countries are composed of individuals that comprise a particular culture based on the flexibility and changes within said population. Is change good? We always hope so, but this is not always the case. Of course, that's life. By understanding change, we acquire an understanding of adjustment. We have no choice but to adjust to changes, thus greeting each day with a smile and make what we can of each new day, for better or worse. It is up to us and us alone. I would like to express one of my own personal thoughts. Understanding ignorance is the acknowledgement of intelligence. In other words, the more we acquire knowledge, the more we realize what we do not know. We should always seek to learn, acknowledge change, and strive for the good in life, for contentment and happiness. What else is there? There is an old Arab proverb that says, "The eyes are of little use if the mind be blind." Benjamin Franklin once said, "Who is wise? He that learns from everyone." I say, be not afraid of change, or we may find that life will pass us by. Samuel Longfellow states in his first stanza of the poem Go Forth to Life, and he states, "Go forth to life, O child of earth, still mindful of thy heavenly birth. Thou art not here for ease or sin, but manhood's noble crown to win." I agree with Samuel Longfellow, as expressed when he said that it is up to us to pick up and wear the crown of life. Yes, reach out and live. Be thyself. Face changes as long as we can draw a breath. Helen Keller once said, "When one door of happiness closes, another opens. But often we look so long at the closed door that we do not see the one which has been opened for us." I would like to remind everyone that yesterday is history and gone. Today we have the chance to enjoy the breath of life. Who knows what tomorrow will bring? Change, no doubt. Thank you.